All right, everybody. Today we're going to get started with learning about our very first topic in economics and personal finance, which is the concept of scarcity. All right, scarcity is essentially the backbone of economics, or is the condition that exists that makes economics possible. Uh, and so when we're done with this lesson, after we've watched this video, we should be able to explain what scarcity is, and why it exists. Right. So scarcity is the basic condition that exists when the unlimited wants and needs of humans exceed our limited resources. So what that means basically is that the things that we human beings, you and I and everybody else, the things that we want, the things that we need, like food, like water, like shelter, uh, and then other other things that we may desire, like material goods, like cars or jewelry or whatever you can think of. Any good or service is limited, but our capacity to want and need things is unlimited. So scarcity is that basic condition, right? There's a finite amount of resources that are available. So when we talk about scarcity and we talk about scarce resources, we're talking about resources that are both limited and desirable. So um, both of those conditions must be met in order for a resource to be considered scarce. Um, an example of this, fresh air and sunshine are both desirable, right? People like the fresh air, people like the sunshine, but they're not really limited. I mean, I guess in a sense they might be limited, but for all practical purposes, they're not limited, right? So we don't consider that a scarce resource. Even though it is desirable, it's not limited in any meaningful way. Garbage, on the other hand, is limited, right? There's a limited amount of garbage. There's only so much garbage out there, but it's not really desirable. So it's not a scarce resource. It doesn't meet both of those conditions of resource being both limited and also desirable. So we can take a moment and we can think about what would actually be an example of a scarce resource. And if you're watching this, you can pause the video, you can think about it. We can take a moment here. But when we think about an example of a scarce resource, we should be thinking about something that is finite, right? Which means that there's a limited amount of it, and something that is also desirable. And so we take a look at this table here, and it is basically giving us a thought process for how we can determine if a resource is a scarce resource or not. So we have a couple of resources here that we can take a look at, um, and we see uh, time, water, pollution, and sunshine. So time, is it limited? Yes, time is limited, right? Time is limited. We only have so much of it. And is it desirable? Well, that's kind of like a philosophical question, isn't it? But time is desirable, right? People like to have more time on this earth, more time with their friends and family, more time with themselves, more time to do the things that they want to do or to do the things that are valuable in some way. So time is definitely desirable, right? People in general would rather have more time rather than less of it. So time is limited, it's desirable, it's a scarce resource. Water, is water limited? Well, yes, it is. And this brings up an important point. Uh, when we talk about whether or not something is scarce, we're talking about whether it's limited, not whether there's a lot of it or not a lot of it, right? So there's a lot of water out there. If you go outside, there's water, all kinds of rivers and streams outside. There's big lakes and ponds everywhere. Of course, 66%, two-thirds of the world's surface is covered by water. So obviously, there's a lot of water out there, um, but it is limited, right? There's not an unlimited amount of it, even though there's quite a lot of it. So, yes, water is limited. And is water desirable? Clearly, yes, it's necessary, right? For human survival, we need water. So it is a scarce resource. Pollution. Is pollution limited? Well, there's not infinite amounts of pollution. In some places around the world, there might be quite a lot of it, but pollution is limited. There's not um, unlimited amounts of pollution out there. So, yes, pollution is limited, but is pollution desirable? I don't think so. I don't really like it. I haven't met many people who like pollution, who like breathing in dirty air or something like that. Um, so I'm going to give that an X. Pollution, it is limited, but it's not desirable. Therefore, it is not a scarce resource, right? It has to be both. And then sunshine, right? We'll just go ahead and say desirable, right? People like the sunshine. Um, unless it's very, very hot outside, right? Maybe it can become dangerous. But in general, people like the sunshine. That's why people go on vacation to places like Florida and California and uh, Caribbean islands rather than going to northern Alaska, Greenland, Iceland. Um, well, some people go to vacation on Iceland, but it's not for the sunshine. It's for the topography. In any case, in general, sunshine, it's desirable, but for all practical purposes, it's unlimited, right? Sunshine is produced by the sun. Of course, at some point, the sun will go out billions of years from now, but from our perspective, for all practical purposes, sunshine is not really limited, right? It's always coming down, at least during the daytime, right? So it doesn't meet both of these requirements of being limited and being desirable. Therefore, sunshine is not a scarce resource. One thing, by the way, that we want to um, make sure that we remember is that scarcity, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but scarcity and a shortage of an item are not the same thing. Um, if you guys will remember, of course, it was some years ago now. You guys might have been children, but or younger, but uh, during COVID at the very beginning, when when people were home and all that, there was severe toilet paper shortages, right? People were the and this is something we'll talk about later, but the demand for toilet paper grew very quickly, and the grocery stores, many of them were out of toilet paper, right? So there was a shortage. Scarcity is not the same thing as a shortage, right? Scarce resources are always scarce, right? And sometimes a scarce resource, there might be large amounts of it. There might be more of it than we know almost what to do with. Um, so a scarce resource, it's not really about whether there's a lot of something or not a lot of something. We're just thinking, is there a limited or unlimited amount of that thing, right? So we were talking about water. Well, 60% of the Earth's surface is water. We have quite a bit of water on this planet. Um, in some areas around the world, there might be shortages of fresh water, but in general, we have quite a bit of water. Um, but it's still a scarce resource, right? Because it's limited. So, a distinction to keep in mind: just because something is scarce doesn't mean that we there's not a lot of it out there, or the grocery store shelves are empty or something like that. There's a distinction, right, between scarcity and shortages, and we'll be talking a little bit more about shortages in the second unit of this class, by the way. And toilet paper, by the way, is still a scarce resource, even though that shortage is over and it's been some years now. Why does scarcity even matter? Why are we talking about this? Why is this the first topic of discussion in economics and personal finance? Why is this our first lesson? Um, the fact that items are scarce, that resources are scarce, means that human beings have to make choices about how to use the resources that they have. Right? We cannot uh, do everything that we would like to do, and we can't have everything that we would like to have, and we can't. Not everyone can get everything that they'd like to have. So human beings have to make choices, right? Resources are scarce. Human beings, right? That means individuals, businesses, yes, governments, right? Have to make choices about how to use the resources that they have effectively. Um, and if there was no scarcity, right? If there were no scarcity, if we had all the time and resources in the world, we wouldn't have to make any choices. We could have it all, and we wouldn't have to decide between things, but we do, right? Um, and this kind of comes back to what we talked about in class, that economics is the study of the choices that humans make with their limited resources, right? That is what economics is all about. Economics is not the study of money, right? As many people think that economics is a study of how money works. Money is a part of economics, but economics is not the study of money. It's essentially a study of human behavior, right? And it's specifically the study of human choice. So that's what we're going to be talking about throughout the semester. And scarcity is is the impetus for all of it, right? It's the that basic condition of reality that causes humans to make choices, right? Individuals, businesses, and governments have to make choices, and those choices, how they make those choices, what choices they make, what informs those choices, is what we're going to be talking about throughout the semester. All right, well, that's it. All right, that's it for our first lesson on scarcity. If you have any questions about scarcity, um, write me or come talk to me in person, right? If you're a student, come talk to me and we will work it out. Uh, we will get scarcity down as we go throughout the semester studying these human choices. All right, have a good day.